Let's do this. You're welcome here if you're she, he, we, or they. You're welcome here if you're gay, straight, or working it out. You're welcome here if you're in a relationship, single, divorced, or widowed. You are welcome here if you're inked, pierced, both, or neither.
You're welcome here if you're young.
Or young at heart.
You're welcome here if your neurons like to be typical or like to be spicy. You're welcome here if you're more Christian than Colin from Witch Hazel or haven't got the whole faith thing yet.
You are welcome here if you're living on a prayer or could use a prayer right now. You are welcome here if you've got it all sorted or if you've got doubts. You are welcome here. Yes, you are. And I mean that from the very heart of my bottom. No, bottom of my heart. How are we? So exciting news. New things have been created ahead of something special for the bank holiday weekend, and particularly Good Friday, which, you know, not so good if you were Jesus, but right. Yes, greetings. Hello, Torren. Hello, Isabel. Hello, anybody else who's just watching and joining, whether it's now or in your future. No, my future, which is my past, but still now for you. Someone fetch me a DeLorean. Hi, Paul. Thanks for being here, man. So we have some exciting news about Plague of Angels. I think I mentioned this a few weeks, about a month ago. I just moved house. I had to run up the hill to the church to record it. But yeah, we've got something scheduled. So I'll a bit like when sort of movies are released, you get sort of like different trailers aimed at different people. So I'm learning, right? So I've tried this. So here is teaser trailer number 1 for A Plague of Angels, the serious one. Just so if anybody doesn't know, Plague of Angels are a band. Sort of kind of metal, doom, gothic stuff, and they do a lot of work combining the power of the kind of cathedral traditional pipe organ and the power and the breadth and the depth and the emotion of doom and metal and that whole kind of gothic vibe. So here we go. Without further ado, Plague of Angels trailer 1. Build it up and just mess it up. That's how we roll. Speaking of which, obviously, all of this grew out of a trip to Whitby, where the legend that is St. Hild of Whitby, Abbess of Whitby, and her kind of nurturing of Caedmon, the progenitor of, I guess, sacred psalms, hymnody, poetry in England, in the English language. So, but she's still missing. So, I mean, it's a shame that Hill's going to miss this trailer, but I did announce that it was a serious one. It's not. This is the more light-hearted version. And I'm not doing that Kenny Everett thing when he played the sort of single for Bohemian Rhapsody and kept playing bits and cutting it up. That's not what I'm doing. That isn't what I'm doing. I'm just completely disorganized. There's one. There's another. That's an entire plague of angels. And I think you can tell that literally no expense was spent on that epic trailer there. If you have problems reading that, it's so this time next week at 6:00 on Good Friday, the conversation that I had with members of Plague of Angels and Charlotte ND, a biblical scholar, translator, academic, ultimate metalhead, but also a lot of that academic work is absolutely looking at biblical language writing through the lens of metal and vice versa, and how those two just sit together really well, basically. So a good solid kind of debate around metal, around when and where such music can be played. And the kickback from some people and why that might be, and what the motivations behind people who allegedly believe in love and peace and care and gentleness, which is power, means power in control, but kind of just absolutely lose their and absolutely go after people who are musicians doing a job and being creative and making all sorts of assumptions, and getting into the damage that religion can do as well in that. Friday, Good Friday, 6:00, a special extra long stream featuring that conversation, and to then chat through the points that were raised in the chat on Facebook and YouTube as well. So let us gather. However your week has been, it's all right. It's Friday and we are together. So shout Valhalla and raid the fridge. As moon rises, the sun slips sight. Begins the ritual of this night. For those convinced their path is right. Gathered from north, south, east and west, yet called at another's behest. Those treading the path that is left. From near and far, come as you are to this place, and embrace this space as darker hue embraces you. of water, spirit, earth and fire, confessing the sins of empire, we come with our wounds and desire. Sensing that we are not alone, drawn to the flame that guides us home, for here, you, me, and yet to be. Importance and signs of these times, for the sake of all those maligned, is yet the home of the divine. So tonight, ahead of next week, which is completely unprecedented and epic and amazing, as is the actual gig by Plague of Angels in York Minster, that despite all the controversy, and probably because of it, people going "nee" about it, actually just managed to sell more tickets. So, ooh, there's a goal. There's a goal. It's my team's goal. Wait on a minute. Ooh. Oh, just saying, amazing. Thank you for just getting more people to talk about metal. So epic and important and new tonight because I think this evening's stream is the first time that all of the bits and bobs of music are completely original, and a lot of it was written during lockdown when people had time for such things. And I was on sabbatical, so I did have time as part of my sabbatical to write such nonsense. But also because the demons of social media, that even if you've used a legitimate open source, royalty free sound effect, and paid to do so, and from the provider of it, from the library source, and then someone else has used that and they've signed to a record label, and their record label goes, "Oh, you've used 10 seconds of this same sound effect in our music." I'm going, no, that's a stock sound effect, and I can tell where it is. So a bit of work has had to be done just to stop that nonsense. So tonight, for the first time, unfortunately, all of the music is original, and therefore the quality was down here, and it's just about to go through the floor. But no, thank you, Paul. That was having moved house, I finally found my Pro Tools and my keyboard, and I'd like to say I played all of that in one take, or at the same time, but I clearly didn't. So I think it says more about the the sample of organ. Huge cathedral organ is the sample that's used on Pro Tools, and I think the music itself, what I was able to do with it, probably owes more to the quality of that sample than it does the person playing it or the playing thereof. But yeah, cool. So how has the week been? What are you thankful for? I'm thankful that we are together. I'm thankful that it's good to chat to people on here. Good to chat to you, Paul. Good to catch up with you, Torrin, and Isabel, and Rachel, and anybody else who's watching. Feel free to comment, but no pressure to. How has your week been? Have you been enjoying the sunshine here in the UK? It's been very pleasant, very pleasant. I'd love to hear what has lifted your spirits, made your soul sing. Can I just put a bit of spark into things for you? Alongside all the other stuff that we can get to later, that's heavy and not in a good way, but just those little moments, maybe one thing a day, that's just made you go, yeah, it's all good. I'd love to hear what those things are for you, whether it's music, whether it's conversations with people, events, experiences, just to share them and to encourage each other, I guess, for those of us who are perhaps struggling to think of something that's been positive in the last week. So what are you particularly thankful for and appreciative of at the minute? Please do drop us a comment on YouTube or Twitter.
world as we roar. See the eagle, it soars. Wind and rain, refresh once more. From fear, hope redefined, we will not be denied. For are we yet alive? Invoke the threefold name and rekindle the flame. Faith, hope and love they remain. The song shall stay the same. Like it's all gone too, shall we be downcast too? Or stand shield to shield, together in the field? We refuse to yield. Steadfastly holding the line, for love wins in eternity's time. We keep pressing forward until the last, and our crash shall be forever. Choose attack.
And as will become clear, if the words choose and attack are new to you, they are Norse, which is more Viking, therefore inherently more metal. Battle metal. Needing kind of like 1,000 thank yous, huge thank you, like thank you with bells on, tubular bells. Speaking of epic music, Isabel, that's amazing. Yeah, War of the Worlds gig. Was that at the arena, I assume? I'd love to know what element of staging and stuff there was with it as well. I'd also be interested in people's views of which version of the soundtrack is the War of the Worlds kind of soundtrack, which is your favourite? The one with lots and lots of the original, one with lots of kind of remakes and updates and contemporary people contributing. I'd love to know. So yeah, I'm glad you were better or well enough to enjoy it. That's superb. That's I'll say escapism and encouraging, but also terrifying, all at the same time. I recognise that so being a child of the 80s, there was a thing on BBC One, I think, based on a book or a series of books about tripods, which obviously look a lot like the original cover artwork for War of the Worlds, and whether which came first, I don't know. And it's a very similar story, but it was aimed at children, and children were kind of at risk in it, and so it was like utterly terrifying as a kid. It was the 80s, so nobody really cared. So, just suck it up. And so therefore, I always tall things with three legs just make me slightly, but I might have just had to hide behind you had I been at that gig last night. But thank you for sharing it, Isabel. I'm glad it was awesome. Torren, choose and tack, and thank you for the last alpha session. Cool, man. Hosted by the nearby Baptist Church. That's nice. Good people. And they're setting up a home group so you can carry on. That's fantastic. We were chatting here where I am in this bit of Derbyshire, that together with the different churches locally. Yes, that's the one. Yeah, literally the tripods. But there's several books, isn't there, as well? I think it was a series, but I can't remember the guy's name. It was Christopher. I should have come straight to you, Torren, with this question. It's like, ask the author. But it's so we were thinking of doing a kind of exploring faith discipleship type course together here. I think we're thinking we might not do alpha. We've done it lots, so we're looking at different ones. So it's good to hear your experience of alpha, in case we look at lots of others and go, maybe that's still relevant. And did you have like videos with Nicky Gumbel, Armin, from the original one, or did you have the updated one where I think two other people were presenting it, but then it's still cut to clips of like Nicky Gumbel but sat on his sofa? with his wife rather than sort of standing in wherever it is. And I just wondered how updated it's been, because it's been a few years since I've been involved with it. Thank you, John Christopher, as opposed to Christopher John, which is weirdly the first two names of my brother. Yeah, yes. And hello, Tina. Just you tonight, but please do pass on little greetings to Millie and to Ellie and to all the gang. So, Paul, thank you for sharing, my friend. Thank you for your wife and daughter. Dude, that's awesome. Yeah. And the sunshine, yeah, and the birds singing. People who reached out to you when you were struggling. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So I pronounce the band's name in my head and in the privacy of my own house, but I'm not going to say it on a stream because I'll get it wrong and I'll get roasted for it. But from that amazing band, that's beautiful, man. That's so cool. I'm sorry that things have not been good, and I'm just thankful that you're able to not only find things that kind of lift your spirits, your soul, but actually you've got the grace to share them and encourage others. So bless you, and may you continue to go from strength to strength, man. That's cool, and just thank you for you as well. So thankful that you're here, Tina. Not tomorrow. Now wait on a minute. I don't know where I put my phone. I just need to work out a date because Tina's reminded me, who is down the road from me, slightly further up north, just over the border in Sheffield, and that's in South Yorkshire. But because I can't find Hild, I can say South Yorkshire without having a whole load of earache about how wonderful Yorkshire is. Oh, I can hear her. I can hear her. So I'm just trying to work out. Yes, okay. So tomorrow is the second Saturday of this month of April. The following Saturday, Easter Saturday, Holy Saturday as it's sometimes called, the 19th, we are at Norton Lees Church, St Paul's Norton Lees, in Sheffield, kind of South Sheffield. And we will be doing with friends there and people involved in the pantry, which is an amazing piece of work and community action and bringing volunteers together and making a huge difference, and just an awesome group of people and a great place and people to hang out with. We're doing a full-on kind of gothically dark embracing of Easter Saturday. So Good Friday in the Christian story is when Jesus is dead, ahead of Easter Sunday, which for the church, is then, is about the tomb being empty, people not being able to explain it, people saying they'd seen Jesus who was dead, who's alive, but not recognizing him, and the moment where, I guess, for people who would call themselves Christians to say, well, actually, I choose to believe that it's because Jesus was raised from the dead, and that's the death and the stuff that separates us and gets in the way that in church language is called sin, that all that stuff is overcome, or begins to be overcome, and will one day fully be overcome through this act of Easter Day, which obviously is an act of faith to believe that, because it defies all previous human experience, and everything we kind of know about, I guess, science and the way the world works. But Easter Saturday, if you were there on that first Easter Saturday and you follow this guy called Jesus who was saying, I'm going to make those who are oppressed free, it's like literally not just make whatever country great again. It's like let's make the world not great, but let's make the world caring and inclusive and encouraging and hope filled again. And people kind of pinned their colours to him and followed him. And then he gets arrested and basically is given a horrendous death for basically being a pain to the to those who were in charge, because it could have caused a bit of a riot. I mean, it was like, I predict a riot, and not in a kind of cool Kaiser Chiefs way. Yeah, and so they got rid of him. And so if you were one of his friends or followers or his family, it's like Easter Saturday is the darkest, most hopeless event. And I think sometimes within the church and the way that we, Easter, it's all about Easter Day. It's all about the chocolate eggs. It's all about woohoo. And yeah, there are people who've lost loved ones around that time, and so it's a grim time. So a chance for those who might find it helpful to just say, yeah, some of this stuff is hard, and it would have been hard on that. Well, I can't imagine what it'd be like if you just lost your best mate, the person you put your hope in, the person you were following. You'd left your family, you'd left your job you were doing. Well, these people were fishermen and tax collectors and gave it all up and followed Jesus because things could be better, and it all goes horribly wrong, or so it seems. So to embrace that together next Holy Saturday at Norton Lees, but in a epically, gothically, doomy and metally kind of way, with live band and lots of multimedia stuff and operating on all the senses. So come as you are, come gothed up to the hilt, come grunged out, come punked up, whatever. Just come if you were around at Norton Lees, just on the edge of Sheffield, in South Yorkshire. You are most welcome. So thank you. I shall shut up now. Yep. Okay, so Isabel also alluded to meet Maisie Smith and Max George afterwards. Wow. So you've seen 3 versions of this over the years. Last night's acoustics and special effects were 10 out of 10. Wow. Yeah. So just yes. Yeah. Are they? I'm assuming there might be a DVD. I know it's not going to be the same, but I'm assuming there might be sort of a DVD for people like me who might need to pause certain things in case they get freaked out by things with 3 legs and robots and stuff. Okay. So back to the Alpha Course video. You have the most recent video series where they were traveling around the world. Okay, cool. That's helpful. So yes, we have shouted out St. Paul's in Norton Lees. Yeet. I'm going to yeet you into Norton Lees. Yes, there will be Yorkshire tea served in Yorkshire, which is just over the border from Derbyshire. Although I'm very excited because Notts County are playing tonight, and Notts County Cricket Club did really well in the first 4 days. So it's always good to talk about Nottinghamshire when you're in Derbyshire. It's all part of the East Midlands, isn't it? And South Yorkshire's great too. Speaking of Norton Lees, the Right Reverend Wright. No, the Reverend Rachel Crossley. I'm sure one day will be a Right Reverend or a Very Reverend. I can't work out which one is most senior. I'm sure you'll tell me. Most Reverend, like the most exceedingly. It's like more reverend than you could possibly conceive. So a bit like Chusentak and Thank You to the Sun and Paddling in Reservoirs. Cool. Riding the Motorbike. Amazing. Oh man, you are so metal. So Rachel is it's St. Paul's in Norton Lees is the church where Rachel is, and so and Tina as well. So those folk are very kindly inviting us and involving us, and so we're greatly excited to that. So Paul, if so recognizing that unless you're talking about War of the Worlds, which is also fine, so ignore what I'm about to say if you are, but I think this is one on Saturday we won't stream, just because of ages of people there and just making it safe for people. However, I think the content of it we can certainly try and share. It uses, I guess, material that is by secular bands and things and other artists. So streaming it is a bit of a nightmare in terms of the algorithm demons. However, something we've tried previously is to use Zoom to basically be able to use secular or kind of pre-recorded non-original music in a way that doesn't upset the algorithm demons. Recognizing that then for some people they don't want to kind of come on Zoom or be on camera or like have their mic, but equally if that is you as well, or anybody thinking, well, it'd be good to be part of it, but you want to, if you're interested in the Zoom thing, you're absolutely welcome just to come and to, put a different name up, put initials up, leave your camera off, leave your mic off. And if you want to communicate, a comment or anything, then use the comment function on Zoom. I think that's the best way I've come up with of trying to share stuff that it's difficult to stream for various reasons. So yeah, be interested if that's helpful. Yeah. So I don't know. It's Mom. Was it Mam Like Jam? Yeah, but I hope you're all right, and looking forward to being with you all next weekend. And speaking of which, I will get my butt in gear and respond to the emails and send you the stuff that I said I was going to do for that next weekend. Because as we know, it's not like me to be kind of last minute about anything. Cool. Okay. Thanks, Torrent. That's cool. I think I've done it before where you create an event. If you bury it in the event title, otherwise Facebook just will not let you post. So we can post it on our Facebook page and on our community post on YouTube. If you're on that, Isabel, and you just cut and paste it into a Zoom browser and go for it. And again, there are. So I went to this course about understanding autism for autistic people and friends and family and employers, run by autistic people, and literally, I think the first session for the first 2 minutes, we weren't sure what to do. So people sat there, with sort of headphones and hats and various things and fidget toys, just being themselves. And within about a minute, we'd all worked out that like staring at a screen is a bit too much like perhaps eye contact. So we sort of we just turned their cameras off and just sat and listened. And it was great. It was great. Carried on for another 5 weeks. Brilliant. So it's just enabling and inviting people to participate in whichever way is as comfortable as possible for you. That's the important thing. So that's helpful. Thank you. Cool. So that's 2 for Zoom. Okay. Thank you. So perhaps Rachel and I can have a chat about, because not all of it will be like the live band bit. But that doesn't mean we can't find versions of the non-secular music that we're metaling up potentially and include that in some way. I feel another visit to Pro Tools coming on. But certainly other bits we can do. And there are bits that are, I guess, interactive that we're thinking of. But again, if we notify people what items you might want to get from a sort of tactile perspective or an olfactory smell sense, then we can do that. And again, if that's like, what, I don't want to do that, what are you doing, you weirdos, then that's fine, just don't do it. But if kind of having that multi-sensory experience is helpful, then we can work that out as well. It won't quite be up there with War of the Worlds special effects, although the last time Rachel and I spoke, I think we both went away looking for church pyrotechnics, so who knows, it could well be. So thank you, lovely people, for sharing what this day has made Yao say in your best battle Viking death metal growl. And I do encourage you to say this as loud as you can. So we're going to say cheese and tack on the count of 3, as loud as you can, particularly if you are sat somewhere quiet or on public transport. Always good for a giggle. But I think, as Paul has intimated earlier on, thank you again for sharing that despite birds singing and people who hopefully we have in our lives who care about us and who we care about, not just kind of people in relationships with family and friends, but just people that we're able to be ourselves with and just be relaxed with and share some of this stuff. That despite all of that stuff that might encourage us, there's still some grim stuff going on, and perhaps there's been grim stuff for you, physically, emotionally, or mentally. And perhaps it's helpful to, a bit like when people journal each day, which helps you look back at some of the positive stuff that you might have missed because something else has happened that's just like swamped everything, understandably. But also, certainly I found it helpful in journaling, and this is why I kind of do this bit, is to kind of, because it's in here and it's like all consuming and I can't turn it off, which I now recognise as I wait for an ADHD assessment might be something to do with ADHD. So, maybe other people don't necessarily experience this, but, sometimes you're chewing something over in your brain, whether you want it to or not, but to get it out means it's kind of out there and a bit more objective, and you can like poke at it and play with it and move it around. But it's in some way less sharp in here as well, maybe. So just an invitation to if it's helpful, just to, in your own head, or to write it down and then bin it or burn it, or in a comment, whatever's helpful. Just to acknowledge some of the stuff that perhaps is heavy and not in a good way for you at the minute, things you want to lay down, things you want to turn away from, things that you can leave here in this moment tonight, or situations that you're going to have to go back into, or burdens you need to pick up again, but to say, well, actually, for this time, I'm just going to chill and, leave them here for a bit, and have some rest and respite. An invitation to do that. Just remember, it's a public stream, so if you just want to respect confidentiality and use initials or whatever, however is safe and helpful for you. So this is a piece of music previously that somebody was going, you used dumb music. No, I didn't. It was 10 seconds that used the same sample in my music from an open source place that you've used, but you got signed by a record label, and now you're telling me that I've nicked your music, which isn't true. So to avoid that, here is a reworked bit of space and time to think about stuff we might want to lay down and let go of and turn away from. So I invite you to join in with these words if it's helpful, either in your head or out loud. As I believe those stuff that just feels really heavy to carry, acknowledging them, and actually, I believe that the original long-haired bearded bloke from Nazareth Jesus offers to kind of pick it up and carry it for us. So let's lay those things down.
The principalities and will to power, the worms from within my own darkest hour. I confess all the regrets and the regrets, the burdens and fears, the lament and the tears. I lay them down.
And as we do, I think that God, the all-parent, the divine, the other, the universal force of love and hope and inclusion, in the person of Jesus, comes running out to meet us no matter how far we feel away from that force of love, or that love feels away from us. Comes out unconditionally, arms open wide, saying, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, even if you don't like Iron Maiden, but why wouldn't you? And I will give you rest. May rest and peace in whatever way you need it be yours this night." And now, a reading. So a reading from the Bible. The Bible, what is metal? So metal it's made of paper. A Bible that has kind of testimonies and things from metal musicians who are also people of faith. Nico from Iron Maiden, and the bass playing Dave from Megadeth, not of Megadeth, then of Megadeth, not of Megadeth, with Megadeth, not of Megadeth again. This is the reading that's kind of the story of Palm Sunday, so because that's this coming Sunday. So I think the account was called like Jesus enters Jerusalem. Sometimes it's called the triumphal entry because of the way people react to him, even though like a week later it goes horribly wrong, such as the fickleness of people, including me, I guess, absolutely. So I'm going to read this. So it's Luke chapter 19, verses 29. So when he come near to Bethphage, near Bethany, and Bethany. Why don't I just say at the place called the Mount of Olives? He sent to the disciples, saying, "Go into the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find there tied a colt." Which, I think in culture, history, it gets represented as a donkey, but it could equally refer to a young horse or an unridden horse up until that point. So, I hate to kind of suggest though that might not have been a donkey. Not only was there not a donkey involved, or we're not told there's a donkey involved in the Christmas Advent story, Christmas story for the journey to Bethlehem, but we're not actually told that there is a donkey involved in Jesus going into Jerusalem. Sorry. That's it. 2,000 years and you've ruined Easter for me as well. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you why you're untying it, just say this: the Lord needs it. In a sort of Jedi move. These are not the bot droids you're looking for. Yeah. Why are you untying my young horse? The Lord needs it. So those two were sent, departed, found it, and it was as he told them. As we're untying the colt, its owners said, "Why are you untying the colt?" And they said, "The Lord needs it." Then they brought it to Jesus, and after throwing their cloaks at the colt, they set Jesus on it. As he rode along, people kept spreading their cloaks on the road. As he was now approaching the path down from the Mount of Olives overlooking Jerusalem, the whole multitude of the disciples, so like we're not talking the 12, we're talking like the 12 that are named, but all these huge amount of people, like camp followers in sort of, Dark Age, medieval kind of, armies and stuff, like all these people alongside who are also as much disciples as the 12 blokes that we hear a lot about. This is men, this is women, this is children. All this group began praising God joyfully with a loud voice for deeds of power they had seen, saying, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest heaven." Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, order your disciples to stop." He answered, "I tell you, if these people were silent, the stones would shout out." So I don't know if that's a familiar story. I don't know if kind of maybe it's a story you're aware of in, I don't know, kind of just general cultural, as a sort of historically Christian community, country where, you kind of get told the story if you're dragged to church once or twice a year or at school, things like that. But whether hearing it in that detail in the account according to Luke, whether there's things that are different and new to you, whether there's anything that you think that's a bit weird, or anything that you go, I can connect with that. It's just some time to think and reflect. No. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, kind of involved in like a Bible study around this, and so did a little bit of extra reading around, and so I find it fascinating that I might just misquote Bible here, so I'm sure Rachel will put me right. So the fact that Jesus goes to the Mount of Olives, the fact that, whether it's some Jedi mind trick or whether Jesus had some sort of prearranged deal with these the owners of this horse saying, I need to borrow this like unridden horse, possibly donkey thing, colt, or no, it's a colt. That, so when I'm, you'll know it's the people who I've sent because they'll say the Lord needs it. All right, cool, you're Jesus's mates, fine, here you go. All of that echoes stuff that Jesus would have known, that the other people around in Jerusalem, the Jewish people, would have known from Hebrew scripture, from from the Torah of an example. I think it might be Hezekiah, I don't know, some Kaya. But yeah, so Jesus is kind of in these actions where he's placing himself and what he's doing. He's deliberately aligning himself with this kind of effective foreshadowing talked about, centuries before, and aligning himself with this view of someone anointed by God, to be about freedom and justice and those sorts of things, but aligning himself in such a way that it's not a war horse, so it's not, Jesus isn't the first person in Jewish history, Hebrew history, to ride an unridden young horse, possibly a donkey, in a sort of victory parade down from the Mount of Olives. He's kind of echoing what's gone before and saying, look, I'm that sort of person. I'm not on a war charger, Destria, big horse. Big horse covered in sort of armor plating, kind of, that sort of war horse thing. He's saying it's all a bit more humble, and it's not about violence. It's it's about the priorities. It's a revolution, not through violence. It's a revolution for hearts and minds, and kind of from the inside out, and about the way that we live rather than the way we sort of like dominate others. And I don't know. Maybe you hear that and go, "Ooh, what? Do you mean Jesus didn't come up with this all on himself?" It's like some sort of like first century Alistair Campbell. He's kind of spinning what's been going on in the past and kind of going, "Oh, it's like this." Look, does that challenge your faith if you kind of are a person of faith, or do you kind of go, actually, no, Jesus is taking what was familiar, trying to make, making sense to people of this day of, so it's the big Jewish celebration of the Passover, sort of the biggest date, as it were, in the Jewish calendar, remembering God's acts in the past. So people are looking back about God's faithfulness to them as God's chosen people, and so Jesus kind of steps into all of that contextually in a way that made sense for them, but then also does this sort of, takes it somewhere different. And it's like, I guess it's, we talked about different, soundtrack recordings of War of the Worlds. It's when, somebody does a cover of one of your favorite songs. Maybe you love it. Maybe you go, oh, you shouldn't have touched the original. But there are some bands who manage to do that. Think about Disturbed and their version of Sound of Silence. I'm not dissing the Simon Garfunkel version at all, but there's something in what they did there that just created something new and made it their own, and it communicated in a different way. And I think this is what Jesus is doing here. He's taking all of that expectation of an anointed one sent by God to save people. He's placing himself on the Mount of Olives and going into Jerusalem, and by riding this young horse, the exact opposite to what you'd expect a kind of militaristic leader about to whoop some butts of Roman oppressive types, and those from the local community who were effectively supporting and puppets of the Roman oppressive force. He does all of that and says, actually, it's a subversive thing. It's a subversive thing. It is a long walk to freedom. It is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's all of that. It's taking what is familiar and doing this kind of very unexpected. It's not Donald Trump. He's coming and just twisting on its head and saying, actually, the lowest, the humblest, ultimately these are the people to whom heaven belongs, first and foremost. So all you people who've had your sort of power and your violence and all this sort of stuff, your time is numbered, and there's going to be a time where the lowest and the least are the most important. It's all part of that thing, I think this is what's kind of happening here. which for me just I think makes it more powerful, just the way in which Jesus uses that. And so I guess it's then just making me wonder today, and I'm saying this to myself as someone who is a Methodist presbyter, so like a vicar. You get to these sorts of events and like everyone's heard it before, and what you're going to say that's new and different, and you're kind of going, but it's exactly what Jesus did. You'd heard it all before. It's about the Passover. It's about God smiting, and it's about an anointed one who's going to come and whoop some butt. And Jesus gets on this little horse, pops in, and also people are gathering for the Passover. So some of this stuff about Hosanna and blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, they were shouting anyway. Potentially, they were shouting it because they were celebrating their faith. And their history and their belief of God acting in that history. So were they all actually necessarily shouting it at Jesus, or did they get excited because he's got this great crowd with him? And then, the religious authorities are going, oh, blimey, it could all kick off in a minute. And if the Romans get hold of it, we're all in stum. So like, oh, keep it down, lads, keep it down. Oh, can you just, was it trying to sleep next door? Can you just turn the amp down a bit? And so this is why it becomes, socially, politically, culturally, a bit of a tinderbox, right? And you can see how it explodes by the end of the week, that he ends up crucified with like the most horrendous, the punishment and the form of death penalty in the form that they reserve for the most, vilified criminals in that society. That's what Jesus gets, right? But all he's done is kind of aligned himself with the story of the very people he's talking to, and just subverted it and twisted it and pointed to a different direction. So for those of us how do we do that? How do we do that if you are a person of faith? How do we do that in a way that connects with people's stories and just does something surprising and just opens up new possibility? Thank you, Rachel. Phew. The proper vicar said so. Good, excellent. The Romans are regularly, yes, paraded cities. Yes. You're right. Yeah, it's a verse about that play with how people have previously experienced authority and power. Yeah. See, I should have just let you type that and just read it, because that's everything I've been waffling on about. But better put. Thank you. Jesus rides in victory, knowing victory comes through sacrifice and surrender. Yeah. And it's just so countercultural. As is, this empty tomb on Easter Day. Is it just empty? Has someone moved this massive stone and run up with the body? Because, they didn't want people to have a site to venerate, because that could also be, if people follow Jesus and then the cult of Jesus could carry on after they'd managed to kill him. Or, in a completely subversive, unexpected way, could it be that actually he ain't dead? That's the invitation of this whole story. It's it does involve response of faith or not, and that's, I think, also what Jesus does throughout that time. He's doing all this stuff, aligning himself with the expectation, but also twisting it a bit, and just challenging people's expectations about I guess, to quote the Queen song, the world that we created. And perhaps trying to point back to perhaps what the world that I believe perhaps God intended, which was about, there wasn't actually death and all this will to power stuff. The first human beings and the sort of, creation, myth is, it's a metaphor for people bumbling around in the garden without any clothes on. It's not an advertisement for kind of naturism. Or is that naturalism? I don't know. Which is the one that David Attenborough does? Because he wears clothes, so it's not that one, it's the other one. But, it's because there's no sense of guilt or shame or it's just pure innocence and acceptance. Nothing dodgy about it. But yet, human will to power, that's, and Jesus comes and subverts it. And maybe even today, in the world of tariffs and invasions and all those things, maybe the message of somebody who rides this young horse rather than a massive horse with this, all these soldiers, maybe that sort of gentleness and humility. Gentleness, I looked it up, means, power, great, not just power, great power in control. There is something about the opposite of power to kind of a gentle power that knows what you can do, but is therefore able to kind of act with constraint and grace. And maybe we need more of that today. Maybe that is how that message makes sense today. I don't know. I'll think about that and maybe preach it on Sunday. I don't know. Yeah. Naturalism. Thank you. Right. Is that the one that David Attenborough does? Or is that the other one? Because I'm a bit worried now where the algorithm might take this and it could end up in all sorts of places. Anyway. So thank you. That's really helpful. Now I'm going to quote you, Rachel. So Melissa was saying about this again. She was saying it's like when people do. She's going to do like a pop quiz and like a music quiz and play music and go, who's this by? So, for example, "I'll Always Love You," and people, Whitney Houston. Who sung the original? Dolly Parton. But another version for some people has become so iconic that that's the one that is, that's this new meaning. But actually, they're both, have their musical merits, but there is a difference, and that it's made your own and it communicates in a different way. So I'm encouraging Melissa to end with, any number of Marilyn Manson covers of whether it's Eurythmics or Depeche Mode, whatever. Possibly Johnny Cash covering Nine Inch Nails. One of my favourite Good Friday songs. But what does that do? How do we do that for people today to engage, to make it make sense, but just take it to a different place? And please God, that place may be a place of love and inclusion and peace and tolerance and welcome and equality and justice. Fall! And even the remaster of that album by Metallica did not put right the sort of, as a bass player, because it's got less strings, so therefore it's easier, did not put right the horrendous mixing on that original one, which was more down to Mr. Hetfield and Mr. Ulrich and just, their grief and struggling to come to terms with the loss of Cliff Burton. Poor old Jason Newsted. I'm walking right into it. But it's kind of great songs, but man, could you just do a version with some proper bassy bumps behind it? So what would that do if they did that? Okay. Recently found out that so Black Betty by Ram Jam is a cover and it's the best version. Yeah. Okay. I did not know that. What was something else that I discovered? I just can't believe, I cannot conceive. Oh yeah, Blinded by the Light. Apparently that was originally, I'm going to say Bruce Springsteen, but I could be wrong. Somebody anyway, but to the point where I had no idea there was a different version, Yeah. Well, in the same way that, Not Fade Away by the Rolling Stones is a fantastic version, but, you can't beat the Buddy Holly original, weirdly, for me. So, but again, some people will like the original. And so if the original for people in first century Palestine was, the accepted expectation of a kind of military leader who would stick it to the Roman overlords, then you don't like someone who kind of covers that, echoes it, and then takes it in a different place. And that's also probably why people kick back against what Jesus is saying, because it's not what people expected, it's not what people want, it's not ticking all our human boxes. And I'm owning those boxes for myself in terms of what feels like justice when you've been wronged, and no, flipping you can suffer, all those things, and Jesus just twists it and turns it, and it's so Yes, yes, yeah. Well, we thought about saying that, but we thought we probably didn't want to play any Michael Jackson anymore in church anyway. Yeah, but again, but yeah, no, and and that bad album is still bad. I mean, in a good way, as in sick. I mean, as in it doesn't make me puke. I mean, it's good. Oh man, how many different generations have I just offended in terms of alpha, zen, beta, gamma, delta, X-ray goggles? I wonder if there's anything that you bring as and for prayer. Maybe it's the situations we've spoken about where perhaps a different approach would be really helpful in terms of whether it's finding something that is peace, that is genuine peace, rather than dominated compliance, justice in terms of economics, and within all these tariffs, it's like, yeah, so I'm going through my Pokemon collection. I mean, this is very much a first world problem, right? But going through my Pokemon collection, and I go, it's going to be so expensive to and my Transformer collection, so expensive to kind of buy this stuff because of all the places involved in manufacturing and in tariffs and etc. and who's going to whack on most of the other. And you're going, yeah, but actually, even before all that, there are people in the nearest kind of urban conurbations to where I am who are begging on the street, who are absolutely dependent on the amazing work of people like Tina and the Pantry and Norton Lees. Tariff schmariff, right? It's like that's the bit, surely. That's where we need someone to get on a small horse and just, in the words of Van Halen, talk about love. Yeah. So, is there anything you bring as and for prayer? Yes. No, I tried twice to watch that documentary on, was it Channel 4? And twice I just couldn't because, and that's as a man. So perhaps it's a shame that the other band Manson, as in the sort of 90s, early noughties kind of indie band, with the bass player had the sort of amazing like fringe that was there, like came off there, and then the rest of it was long around here. So look at that, yeah. Oh, look like Steve Harris. Reasons why I have not cut myself a fringe. I don't know. Very new wave of British heavy metal. But yeah, that Manson. God, I can't get back now. Yeah, it's a shame they haven't covered any of the same songs. We could play them instead. Cool. Do we bring anything as and for prayer? I'd love to drop it if you want to drop it in a comment, that'd be cool. Thank you.
arms open wide, with pierced side. Within defeat, hiding a peace, eternal release. When striving cease, stay with me. Pray for me. Arms open wide, with pierced side. Crown of thorns for all my scorn. I feel your breath as you love me to death.
So, cheers, Paul. Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, just whether it's do one day at a time. No, right, minute, hour, whatever. But I don't spiritually as well. But in terms of us as a community, that we hold together, and it's by sharing that we are able to. And strength and hope and encouragement and a sense of journeying through those things together with God, the all parent, the divine, the other, whatever, and us as well, each of us. And yeah, it's one of my favorite running songs, but I still can't work out whether I find it uplifting because the message is good, or whether it's like just a bit of being a bit twee and like, yeah, that's a bit. What's the word? Platitude, a bit sort of platitude-esque, platitudinal. But yeah, Dance in the Rain by Megadeth off the album Super Collider. It's that's like right. And what is the other one? Broken, Beaten, Scarred on Death Magnetic by Metallica. So I suppose you just need to flipping push through, man. But yeah, absolutely praying for you and with you, and just thank you for being you and being here, and your sharing and encouragement this evening. Really appreciate that. Thank you. And with Isabel, for peace, absolutely, and compassion, and an end to conflicts, absolutely, and with Rachel, my internet's a bit laggy. Yes, that in all the uncertainty and unsettledness that we might continue to look out for the most vulnerable, and be willing to at least make ourselves a little bit more uncomfortable for their sake. Yeah, absolutely. Let's be the change in it. It's Francis of Assisi preached the good news about Jesus, about your relationship with Jesus, and if you need to use words, let's kind of live it and put it into action, and in the way that Norton Lees do, and Tina and Pantry, and I'm sure each of us are doing in our own lives by the choices we make, and in our own little way, trying to live in a just, compassionate, caring way, but also, within that, in the same way that Jesus got in boats and went up mountains and did the stuff that fed him and nourished him emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in order to do those things, that actually it's okay to have compassion for yourself as well. Thank you all. Let's make our offering for this night to the All-Parent.
To the one in whom all people and all creation have their being, may your kingdom come, your will be done, as above, so below. Sustain us for this day. Show us grace as we seek to show grace to those we feel have wronged us. Save us from the worst that is within us and within this world. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.
And now, the notices. So that's next Friday, this time next week, 6 o'clock, streaming the unedited, it's about an hour conversation with members of Plague of Angels and biblical translator, scholar, metalhead, and metal academic, and bringing the two together in an amazing way, Charlotte ND. Please join for that, and kind of respond to stuff. I'll be streaming. We'll introduce it. We'll kind of watch it together, and we're kind of sharing comments as it's going on, and then kind of catch up again afterwards. Be awesome if you could join us. And then the following night, it's a bank holiday bonanza, stonking. On the Saturday we're at Norton Lees for the Darkest Night, a doom-laden, beautifully gothic, multi-sensory journey together through Easter Saturday, engaging with those times, perhaps in our own lives, in the lives of those we care about, and certainly at the moment in the lives of many, many people, of that sense of despair, and looking at where and how hope might come from. So thank you, Paul. And then in May, in May, bank holiday 24th, we are at Cliff College in the Peak District, have their annual festival, and we're on the Orchard stage, where I must not eat the tree of Hello. Yeah, so tickets are available. I think they've been really good. So I think because we work, yeah. So it's on the 24th. You can stay for several days and camp. You can try and find accommodation, or you can turn up for a day ticket. And if you happen to buy a day ticket, for example, when we're on, and go, what a mistake that was, you can swap it for a different day, I think, if you want as well. So that'd be good. I just want to share this from Paul. Thank you, mate. Talking about Jesus being subversive and rallying on the cult, etc. I thought he's still doing that through every dude. Yeah, through every person helping at a food bank, while rich men fight over land. Yeah, and tariffs and riches. Yes, they downed auto carrot. I posted something the other day going, what on earth have I written? I can't even work out what the original word was meant to be. It had done something so weird. Yeah, no, thank you. And I think that if it's all right with the end of my sermon on Sunday, if it's okay to quote you, because that every act of loving kindness, of a listening ear, of a helping hand, of holding a door for somebody, yeah, bit by bit, that is how there will be heaven on earth for everyone. And so let's be encouraged. Thank you so much for sharing that, because actually we just do what we can do, and we do it together, supporting each other, and yeah, and the world is changed. Yeah, no, thank you. I will, thank you. And yeah, so I guess echoing that from Paul, just want to share this. I don't play all the time, but I think at the minute it feels it's a bit like in the Bible, in the book of Psalms. They're kind of songs, hymns, if you like, prayers, musical prayers, and a bit like the book of Lamentations, where you kind of acknowledge that things are not as you would want or that they should be, and you kind of yearn, you express, but it's not just that it would be nice if, but you express that deep yearning for the sort of change that we've been talking about tonight, and find that hope for the next step, whatever that might be, through the examples that Paul shared in terms of that little thing that we are doing, that other people are doing, that we can do, and then do another one, and then do another one, and we will get there. So
may the peace of the All-Parent be ours this night, and with all people and all creation in the time that is to come.
I think from this evening, Paul needs to clearly write a biblical commentary. We'll all buy it and use it, please. Thank you. Yeah, no. Well, I think likewise. It's it's good, isn't it? Because I think this is why it's called the living word, isn't it? Because we encounter it, same words, different times, different people sharing together, and through that we speak to each other, and maybe I believe the divine God speaks to us as well. Yeah, and I particularly love it when it's expressed in really practical ways, like Paul shared as well. So cool. Thank you, Torren. Bless you, mate. Cheers, Paul, and keep on keeping on, my friend. And yeah, anytime, drop us a message on the Facebook page, or use the messenger function as well, man. And yeah, Rachel, Tina, see you this time next week, but I will be in touch before then with the bits I said I'd prepare. Yeah. And now, so again, right, this is part of the step-by-step thing. So as daft and whatever silly I am, and this is, I don't mean it to be always, it just happens, I'm sorry. But it's a bit like Isabel going to War of the Worlds. Maybe it's a bit like, Rachel riding a motorbike. Maybe it's the kind of sense of connection that Torrens found through Off Course and that kind of group that's being set up. It's the stuff Paul's talked about in terms of the positive stuff that people are doing, the love and support of family, and children, all of that, but that sense of connection, like at a gig, like at an Iron Maiden gig, where Bruce, the air raid siren, says "Scream for me," and 10,000 people scream. So a bit like that, just invite us to hold on to this sense of connection and take it with us into the rest of the week. So instead of screaming, you can if you want, but I'm going to invite us to sort of sway. Imagine that scene like in the 80s and 90s where people would sort of get their Zippos out and like anybody who you were near who had a Zippo, you'd suddenly go, "Woo," and try and protect what hair you had left. But now it's all waving your phone torch. So you can wave your phone torch if you want. Perhaps not if you're a passenger in the back seat of a car. It's probably not helpful. But other than that, if safe to do so, feel free to sway with the Metal Compline. Thank you, man. Man. Oh, dear. Why do I laugh at myself doing this? Because you're a fool, James. Sway with me. Metal Compline. Just for a go, I discovered this week that there is a book. I think Patrick might have tagged it, or I think John Cooper shared it, and I think Patrick Stonehill might have tagged it. But it's basically about it's all about being vile. Which obviously that is on the end of the swaying bit each week, and the reason it's there is that Mr. Wesley, who's a very naughty Anglican, and sort of booted out. In a way, absolutely brought it on himself by just kind of not towing the line, respecting, to quote Carmen, the authority of the church. And you can again say that was a hugely subversive act, etc., etc. So it isn't about causing any interdenominational hoo-ha, but part of what he was doing was trying to get the message out there to people, not those who could afford the seats in the local parish church as it was then. Those who couldn't get in, perhaps worked in industries where it was about literally putting food on the table, and so didn't get access to education, couldn't read. So he was trying to take this message about, God thinks you're awesome, out to people. And he says in his journal, whatever date it was, I committed to be more vile. By kind of standing in the field and kind of preaching so that all these other people could hear. And I guess this continues that thing of trying to be more vile because it's sort of music that people don't like, as we will discuss next Good Friday in the conversation with Plague of Angels. What is it that upsets people so much, and why, and what's really going on, and where's the power in all of that? And actually, the need to be more vile, the need to do the stuff, to be a holy fool. I was just on April Fool's Day, but to be a holy fool, the donation to the food bank, the hour volunteering at the food bank, that bit of giving to another organisation or charity that you kind of feel in terms of your own income, because we're all stretched, all the rest of it, but the difference that makes and your commitment to do that little act of kindness in whatever way, shape or form each day, and acknowledging and appreciating those acts of kindness that we receive each day. Doing those things, even when the wisdom of the world is that those who have the most power and shout the loudest and wave whatever about, they're the ones in charge. But actually, no. So be more vile. Be a holy fool. Holy fool, Batman. I pity the fool. I bought an 18 band the other week. So I'm a bit of a BA, Mr. T to it. Anyway, shut up, James. I have to tell myself to shut up now because I still can't find Hild. But bye.